All right. Action.
Action. How are you going today?
Good. I'm so good. I had a wedding meeting with some clients today and booked them in, which is always a really good feeling. Because like before we started recording, like we were talking about how like when you own a business, it never feels like it's going to be consistent forever. So it's like every time I have a new booking, I'm like, okay, I'm still going to be in business. This is still going to work. You know, it's just like reaffirming those like limiting beliefs that, yeah.
Do you still love that feeling when you first get a new client and you're just like, yes?
Oh, for sure. Because it's so competitive out there. There's so many wedding photographers. And I've recently just joined a Facebook group of wedding photographers that are like, how do I say this? Like, they're like reliable and consistent and have like busy schedules as well. So there are other photographers that say you get sick or something, you can post in this chat or like the Facebook group and just say like, hey, is anyone available for this date? Something's come up. Or it's good for like referrals if you're already booked and they're like, do you have anyone that you can recommend? And then everyone just says their availability. So since joining that, it's kind of confronting because I'm like, oh, there's like a lot of good photographers out there, you know? And so yeah, I guess like the more you realize that like you're not the only one, the more like doubts you have in yourself, but also like it's consistent. Like if people are showing up, and I guess like when I do book new clients, it's also just a little like confirmation that I'm booking the right people as well, because the clients I had today are people I'd go have a beer with, or like would like they went to the same festival as I went to a couple weeks ago, you know, like I found my client base. And I need to remember that, because when other people are booking other clients and say I'm like, oh, I'm not booked for that weekend, it's probably because they have like a bougie ass like city wedding that probably like isn't my client base. You know what I mean?
For sure. I love that we've jumped straight into it, and I think there's like lots of gold there straight away. But for anyone who maybe is new to your journey or just new to you, like I met you when you weren't a photographer, and I've seen that journey of deciding to. That's Mr. Winston. That's the pod dog, an essential part of the podcast.
You're just gonna hear him like sniffing and like heavy breathing in the background. So if you hear that, it's not Raoul.
If you hear a small man snoring, it's not a small man. It's just a small little dog with breathing problems. When I met you, you were into photography, but you hadn't made that transition yet. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the podcast today is because I know lots of people are in that same position right now where you were, you were like you found a passion, or you were playing around with things that you were passionate about, and then you started building up the momentum to decide, I'm going to go all in on this. So let's go back to that part of the story. What made you decide, okay, I'm going to go all into photography?
I guess it's like, so I had this professor when I was in school in Chicago. I went to SAIC for a year, and he like, sometimes I think that like I can't really see the value in that 1 year of my life, and I very regularly wonder like why I had that $40,000 worth of debt after one year of school. But like I always go back to this quote, and he just said like, and I don't know if he was quoting someone else, but his name was Oliver Sands, and he said, you're like an artist has to do, like an artist is an artist because, let me think of how it was worded. Something about like you're doing what you do because you can't not do it, right? So like if you try and approach a day, or myself, if I try and approach a day being like, okay, I'm not going to take a photo today. Like, I would probably rather burn my phone than to not take a photo every single day of my life. Like, I take photos every single day, and I think a lot of people do. But, like, it came to that point with, like, my work that I couldn't stop taking work on. And there was a time where it was like, oh, maybe I'll pursue, like, it makes me want to throw up thinking about this. But, like, at one stage, I was like, maybe I pursue retail, and I go into management and go into, like, managing a store and stuff. But then I just kept getting all these like bookings that I couldn't turn down, like dream weddings or weddings of friends that I loved so much, and I wanted to be the person that like joined them on their wedding day. And so it just got to a point where I couldn't say no to doing photography, and then that was affecting how I was showing up in like full-time retail work. And then eventually I had a boss that was just like, you need to go part-time. You need to figure out what you want to do, and like, what's your 5-term goal kind of thing. I'm like, well, in 5 years I definitely want to be full-time. But he's like, but you're full-time here, so how are you going to get there? And it was pretty funny because like we had a really good friendship, and he was very like influential in the way that he's like, you need to think outside of this job. I'm like, but you're my boss. And he's like, yeah, but I care more about you as a person than I do about you working in retail for the rest of your life. So then eventually I just kind of went part-time there, was picking up more work, and then I actually got a mentor. And within that like meeting that I had with him initially, he pretty much just said like, you can't have a plan B. Like if you're always relying on something that's going to be consistent and like pay you regularly and stuff like that, you're always going to be putting like a bit of your energy into that. And I guess it's like the whole manifestation and stuff. Like if you're putting your energy half into photography and half into a side job, or half into your passion and half into your side job, your energy is always going to be split, and you're always going to be half as successful in both of those areas of your life, I think. Whereas like once I went like, then I went casual, and then I was doing like 1 day a week, 2 days a week. And then, so I'd say I was giving like 80% of my energy towards photography and 10% or 20% towards the retail job. I noticed myself like still kind of like leaking into the casual like retail, where I was like answering emails and being on my phone a lot. And then my boss had another chat to me, and he's like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I need to quit. And he's like, you need to quit. I'm like, no, because he didn't want me there, but because he was like, I'd rather see you like follow your dreams. So yeah, I quit that, and then as soon as I pretty much put 100% of my energy in not having that plan B, it just like, I started getting that return of like 100% of my income, obviously coming from photography. So yeah, it paid off pretty quickly, and I had a really, really fast I don't know how to say, like just a confirmation that I made the right decision. And within the first year I was like, holy shit, like that happened so fast.
Now, what was that confirmation like for you? Did that come in the form of financial confirmation, or like you just feeling aligned with every day you're waking up and doing what you wanted? Like, how did that manifest itself? Yeah,
like when I woke up in the mornings, like, and it's still this way, like I don't wake up dreading my day, you know? And that in itself is like you're like, money is just an exchange of energy, right? So what I've like kind of started to think in the word, like in my mindset, is that I'm like, okay, would I exchange this amount of time to receive this like amount of goods, right? So like since I've started building my house recently, I started like just buying like little individual items as I go. So when I move into my house, it's not as big an expense. So like, but that means that I've just been making some like really silly purchases. But I received in the mail, I kind of forgot, I like ordered it a while ago, and it was just this $120 pink hose, and I unwrapped it, and I was like, was this worth like my exchange of energy for taking photos for people? And you know what? I'm gonna say yes, it was. It was silly, but I'm gonna look at that pink hose and I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm pretty happy about the look of that on my wall. It came with a hanger as well, so.
Oh, well, I think that makes it. Yeah. That makes it right. But coming about the hanger, we'd be having a very different discussion here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like it wasn't like, I guess society's taught us that like success is based on a monetary like value, but so like I did get that confirmation that was really like reassuring and stuff. But yeah, definitely more so like being in alignment with why I'm waking up each day, like how I'm walking into a room when I'm doing work, like what my weekends look like, self-discipline, like aligning with my purpose, you know? There's just so many things that really like confirm that it's like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I'm put here to, I feel like I was like put on earth to just like celebrate people's wins, and yeah, like how that's changed throughout my career has like been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Now that you've been doing it for a couple of years or a few years, what is something that you wish Kenzi, when she was scared at the start of the journey, would know that you know now?
I think, Oh, that's a loaded question.
So the reason why I asked that is prior to the podcast starting, we were talking about how when you're in entrepreneurship and you've started a project or you have a business, like you have this feeling of it's going to fail at all times. Like you're always feeling like maybe tomorrow is the day where it all ends. And I was saying to you, I had a gym for 11 years and it was a successful gym. And it wasn't until I finally sold it that I could look back and say, oh, that was actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, I nailed it.
That's great. But it never felt that way during it. Like during the entire time, it felt this feeling of like, maybe tomorrow is the day.
Oh, sure. And I think that's just such a natural thing to feel. Hey, like you're always going to have those like self-doubts because I guess that's where your growth is going to come from. That's where you're going to see like, I guess what I tell myself is that like mistakes and errors are just your next stepping stone of leveling up. Like anything that you're wishing that you could do better is what you can learn to do better in the future. And like it's actually beneficial because without those mistakes that you're making yourself, you wouldn't know what you could do better and how you could level up. But I guess it's just like trusting that things are going to work out. And like I said before, like not having a plan B, but also making sure you're investing in yourself. Like having a mentor was such a game changer for me. And even just like self-growth, like therapy and all the rest of it. I guess it's just like narrowing down and being like, where are my like limiting beliefs sitting and how is that affecting my job? It's like, it takes a lot of self-awareness to own a business, you know? And it also takes a lot of like being okay with the confrontation of people saying that you're not doing good enough and just listening to that feedback when it's not always good feedback. Like it's great to get a 5-star review, but like what happens when someone emails you saying like, hey, I'm just letting you know, like it'd probably be better for you to show up in this way, like in your business. Like I'd love to get more prompt replies, or you know, like I wish that this package could be an option, or you know, and just like not taking that as a personal attack, but just listening to what the message is there and how you can improve your business based on that feedback. Like feedback is really constructive and it's really necessary for owning a business.
How do you separate your ego from what's being said in those moments? Because I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a super valuable lesson that people can take away, probably in all aspects of life.
Yeah,
even if
relationships, like, everything.
Like, let's say in a relationship, let's say your partner says, look, maybe they don't say it in the right terms of like, look, you're not showing up as your best self and I would like you to show up as your best self by doing this. Maybe they just say like, you never take the fucking trash out.
Yeah.
Right? And what really I was saying is like, I would really like your help and support in this moment, right? How can you take away the aspect of like, I'm not just taking the trash out. Like, that's just a thing that I do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, it's a silly example, but it's the same thing with your business. Like, I think, especially when we follow a passion, we feel so identified by that. But, you know, like, we're not perfect. Like, it doesn't matter what you are, if you're a chef, photographer, PT, like, you're gonna do shit sometimes.
Yeah,
but
sure.
that's just something you do. It's not who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you split the two?
Yeah, it is tricky, especially at the start when you do place a lot of your self-worth and value into your business because that's what you're doing every single day. But I guess it's just like taking a breath, like knowing that you don't have to respond straight away. Like again, in relationships, like sometimes it's best not to respond until you think about it and reflect on it and be like, what is this person actually saying? So the person taking out the trash is actually saying like, hey, like my love language is acts of service and you're not showing up in that way. Do you think that's something that you could acknowledge, like by cleaning up or doing whatever, because that makes me feel loved, right? And these people that come to you with feedback could be just saying like, I've actually gone a different route because you didn't reply within the week or whatever. So instead of being like, oh, there's a better photographer than me out there, or someone else is doing better, blah, 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 you can just be like, okay, so what am I learning from here? A, that person loves and values prompt replies. Maybe I need to set up a direct message that says, hey, I'm out of office for a week. If you're in like Guatemala and you just haven't voiced that, like, are you talking enough to your clients and the people that you're kind of aiming to like, or targeting your business at enough so that they know the answers to their questions before they even email you, right? So just like being ahead of the game, answering questions before they come to you, but also like taking that egotistical response away and just trying to like listen to what they're really saying. Like, okay, hey, like in the future I'll get better at replying quicker, or I'll communicate that I'm not able to reply right now, you know? But yeah, like I think the more self-aware you are and the more confident you are in yourself, that ego can kind of just take a back seat, because you know that everyone's doing their best. You can give yourself some like love and be like, oh, like I just literally couldn't reply because I was in hospital, or I had no phone service, or you know what I mean? And they might just be acting reactive because that's the best that they can do in that moment as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just think it's important for people to hear that, because I know that a lot of people in the journey, especially the entrepreneurship journey, struggle with that, because they take all of those, like a negative review or a bad, like, I think what you mentioned is just having a growth mindset. For sure, yeah. Instead of thinking, like having the opposite, which would be a fixed mindset, where you don't realize that these situations are moments that you can grow from, or just learn, like maybe that person and I just are not a good fit. Yeah, exactly. Like they're not my client. If they're not gonna, so say I do have that automatic email set up being like, hey, I'm out of office for the week. I'll get back to you when I'm back next Monday, blah, blah, blah. If someone's not gonna respect that time as I would theirs, and they're probably not in alignment. But I think scarcity mindset rather than abundance mindset is really like a dangerous trap, because there is enough work for everyone. And like I said before, like if someone else is booking a client for say a June wedding right in the city, like I'm going to be in America, you know? So it's like, that's not my client, and you can't have it all. You have to choose what path you're going to go on and like commit to that, and the right people will align with like your availability and your morals and the rest of it, you know? Now you mentioned therapy before, and the reason why I want to come back to that is I do think that a really important part in developing yourself throughout the entrepreneurial journey is your ability to realize your own self-limitations. Yeah, for sure. What have you learned about yourself through therapy that's helped you in business? I think self-discipline, like being directly affected by like your limiting beliefs. And like I found a lot of, so I used to be like a really messy person. Like I've never been like dirty. I've always been like quite clean, but I would just I'd have like mounds of clothes I needed to put away in my room at all times. And I found that as I started doing therapy, I realized that was like a direct correlation with my self-worth, and thinking like, oh, like I deserve a messy place, or I deserve, and like this wasn't a conscious thinking obviously, but like in the back of my mind I never really felt that I deserved like success in photography, like, or relationships or whatever. Do you want this puppy? I'll put him right in here. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. So like I think the more work I did to kind of eliminate those limiting beliefs, I noticed the success of my business was going up. I was becoming like probably like a bit more OCD as well. Like I'm like on top of all my cleaning. I'm showing up in like my like personal relationships like fully present. And I think that it's just kind of like therapy just kind of cleans up the back of your mind, so you have more space to be present, and that shows in whatever, like wherever you want to put your energy, whether it's business or relationships or gym, or you know. Yeah, for sure. But I think my self-discipline has been like a huge thing with what I got from therapy. Have you been to therapy? Yeah, I have. Yeah. What do you think? I've been to therapy, I guess, for different reasons. Yeah. Like, how do you think that's affected you with, like, business and stuff, I guess? Like, I guess when I've gone to therapy, I guess I've been to different styles of therapy.
Yeah.
Without going too into this podcast.
Yeah.
I had a pretty traumatic divorce. Where I had to do a lot of self-reflection, so I tried lots of different styles of therapy to maybe understand, why I did some of the things that I did to cause the divorce. So I learned different things from that. But prior to all of that happening, which is probably what led to the divorce, I had seeked out some therapy, and I had like a huge realization where maybe there were aspects about my personality that I didn't understand that actually made me really successful in business, but made me really unsuccessful in everyday relationships.
Yeah, right.
Apologies. Winston, don't do that.
It's Winston's podcast.
I know, we're just a part of it. So what I mean...
got a foot fetish. Licking my toes.
So what I mean by that is, like, I have a propensity to want to seek out risk.
Okay.
Like, I find it really thrilling, and I find my life really boring when there is no risk.
Yeah.
Which is probably the reason why I like entrepreneurship, and I'm more willing to start projects. I'm willing to trial things till they work. I'm really stubborn, so I'm happy to do something over and over again. But at the same time, that same thing that maybe leads me to enjoy risk in business, which sometimes has a payoff, is also the same thing that led me to cheating on my ex-partner.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I didn't realize that. Like, that's just in me. Like, that will probably just always be in me. Like, there's always that propensity. Like, I'm probably just always going to be more likely to lean towards that, and I have to learn that just because I have that in me doesn't mean that I have to take action on it. Yeah. And having that awareness is maybe like the first stage, and that's like me being super honest about this.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you reckon that because you're right, like I've seen it, like you thrive in change, right? But like a lot of your like childhood, as far as I'm aware, was like very based around change, like your family.
Yes, and it probably didn't, and it's funny you say that because that's something I've only just very recently had a big epiphany on.
Did you? Yeah.
So I didn't realize that, like probably at this stage in my life, like I'm probably in a situation where everything in my life is really good. And
does that scare the shit out of you?
I would be. Like, it's probably a moment in my life where I'm having to tell myself, like, wow, this is what you want, like, you should be happy.
Yeah.
But I probably don't feel happy because, like, I've associated happiness to mean chaos for a long time. And not to mean, like, stability. So the more stability that I have, I actually feel like I feel yuck. Yeah. Like, it's not a good feeling, and I have to really... And there's parts where I don't have to work so much on, right? Yeah. I really respect my partner, and I've decided to put a lot of effort into this relationship, and even me talking about it all the time. Like, I say these things because I know I'm never going to make the same mistakes that I made in the past in this relationship in that regard. Yeah. But there's other things where I see myself like wanting to self-sabotage because you see, okay, well, if this is one aspect that I'm not going to self-sabotage, you start finding a different aspect, and maybe you will. We're going to take a quick break here. I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about self-sabotaging. Nice. This is unrelated to what I said we were going to talk about. This is really important. Yeah. Why do you think we have less friends as we get older?
I think your priorities just change. Like, people have kids, and then their grandkids become their lives, and then they spend less time, or people think they have less time to like go to the bar with their friends, or to go on like girls trips away or whatever, Yeah, I don't know if you stop having that availability in your mind, maybe. Like, it's definitely a mindset thing.
100%.
Closer to me.
Maybe a year ago, I had the realization that like friendships are work. Like, you have to work on them. Like, they don't, especially as you get older, you just don't just maintain them.
No, because they're not like, you don't just rock up to school and see all your friends every day.
No.
Like, you have to actually set time aside and prioritize them if you want them to. For
sure. And like, we're probably in the same boat. Like, neither one of us have kids. And you're in your 30s now, right?
No,
you're about to turn 30. Yes, that's right.
Oh my god, I'm going to be in my 30s.
As we near the 30s, we are well into them, like myself. Yeah. Like, we both have friends that have, like, a lot of our friends probably have kids.
For sure, yeah.
Right? And that changes everything. because like
really
they want to hang out with you because they want to hang out with parents that have kids so their kids can play.
And also it's just like I had dinner with one of my friends last night that has 2 kids under 2.
Was it dinner at like 3 p.m?
Yeah. It was at their daycare. So yeah, but like if we want to do a weekday catch up, I have to go to their house, which is fine. Like I suggested it because I'm like, I want to see you during the week, and like weekends are really busy for me. But like yeah, and like to parents, I think they like feel guilty as well, like that mom guilt or whatever of like, oh, like I'm not gonna be spending as much quality time with my kids if like my friends are gonna come over, or even just like yeah, like you might feel guilty for your friend because it's chaos and it's bath time and it's bedtime and you know. But like I think the more time you spend around your friends with kids, the more you realize that like those like little in between conversations while they're like sitting or like making dinner, like that is the quality time that they have to offer as well. But yeah, it definitely changes things. Like it's not as easy as just like, oh, let's go grab a drink on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. Like they're like, oh, but that means I'd have to get my in-laws over. Like, you know what I mean?
It becomes very complicated.
Yeah.
100%. Let's go back to talking about self-sabotage.
Speaking about that, because it's a direct correlation with being a parent.
You self-sabotage your life.
If you have kids, I'm going to be like, are you okay? Do you need to talk?
Do you need help? Do you need friends? Yeah. Have you found yourselves at times self-sabotaging your business or not?
I don't know if that was Winston snoring. He's so cute. I don't know if I'd say self-sabotaging. The thing I've definitely struggled with is that like when I'm on 100%, and when I'm off 100%. So like what I said before about like people being cross if I'm not getting back to them, like that doesn't actually happen to me because I'm very like good at communicating with clients and stuff. But like over the Christmas period and New Year's, I was off for like 2 weeks, and that meant like I didn't check DMs, I didn't check emails, like so I guess the hardest thing has been like more so just finding the balance of not going 100% both ways, because yeah, like the work-life balance is the trickiest thing to navigate when you're owning a business. Like
for sure,
you definitely would have felt that with owning a gym.
And I didn't do it well. I did it really terribly for a long time. Hence the divorce. How have you found that being an entrepreneur has affected things like relationships? And how have you managed that sort of balance?
Yeah, I guess I've learned that Monday through Friday, like I've kind of set up like time slots for my life now. So when I first started, I'd be like, oh, like I don't work in print. What is it called? Quotations. I don't work like so I can do dinner or lunch or breakfast or whatever whenever suits my friends. Whereas now I've really had to like rein that back and be like, no, I've got allocated times that I actually am going to be working. So like finding that, like the self-discipline to just say no and be able to switch off between like that work and home drive even, so that when I do arrive home, I'm fully present there, you know? Did that answer the question? I forget what the question was.
Yeah, like I guess I was asking, how do you balance, like, how have you balanced, relationships and...
Oh, yeah. So then, because before I would just be like, not, like, I didn't have any fixed schedule, so then I would just, like, do personal shit during, like, work hours, and then work stuff, like, when I'm, like, at dinners or at my family's houses, or just taking calls whenever, because I would want to slot in whenever that worked for all my clients. But like the very important thing is like boundaries in life in general, obviously. But like in business, if you don't have boundaries, people are gonna not know where that line is, you know? So they'll cross them. And to you, you're like, oh, like I'm a little bit like upset because I've got this meeting, but it's not until 9 o'clock. But it's like, but your clients don't know if that's not okay to you unless you say, my meeting hours are between this time and this time, you know? I recently just started charging more for weekend shoots that aren't weddings as well, because I have to prioritize weddings. So that's where like the most of my income is coming from. So like family shoots and stuff, they generally work best for clients on like Sundays. But then if I did that, then I'd be doing weddings on sometimes Friday shoots with families, couples, branding, whatever. And then I do a weekend wedding on a Saturday and then a Sunday with another family or whatever. So I like started kind of not resenting, that's kind of harsh, but like dreading like a Sunday shoot because I didn't give myself enough time to recover. And then I show up to these shoots and I'm like, oh, I have to do this. But it's like, no, like I chose to tell these people that my availability was this Sunday and they don't know that that's not normal, you know? So yeah, recently I started charging more for Sundays, but I'll also like very strongly push that we'll do like a weekday shoot, especially during summer where like the sunset isn't until like 8 o'clock or whatever now. So we can do like after work hours, whereas like during winter it's a bit harder. People like can't really get off work at like 4 o'clock for a photo shoot. So yeah, but I definitely think that, yeah, just setting those boundaries, it's not just for you, but it's for your family and friends to be able to have you fully present and know that like your attention is there and you're not like half looking at your phone and being stressed about work, because you're gonna switch off and then start back up the next day and it's gonna be exactly where you've left it, you know? Like nothing changes when it's you're the only person running your business.
Yeah, for sure. A question that I have for people when they are entrepreneurs and they own their own business is how do they manage like a constant desire for growth? So I'm going to give you context.
Okay.
So I find that a lot of people when they start something like their business, the goal is just to like be able to do it full time.
Yeah.
Right? And some people really struggle to get to that, and some people will get to that and then realize, okay, like I actually achieved the goal. Like I can do the thing full time. Or maybe their goal is just like they're not a photographer and they want to get to the stage where they identify as I'm a photographer and this is what I do. But then, because business is a game and it's a really competitive game, you need to keep setting new goals for yourself. So how have you managed that, and have you set new goals for yourself, and if so, what has led to them?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely a goal-oriented person. So each quarter, so I've started viewing my business as so like 1 year in my world is a quarter, right? So I'm like just focusing on the 3 months and comparing those to my last quarter of last year and how I've leveled up in that way. So whether that's just like the kind of photography I'm doing or the kind of clients I'm getting or on a monetary value, like that's like who I'm competing with. I'm not competing with other people in the industry like as much as I like have been stuck in that cycle. Like the only person that you need to compare yourself is who you were yesterday, right? So yeah, like I've definitely like taken a step back and just because like a full year is a long time. Like in like a business world, like a week can be all it takes to change your entire business, you know? So I've kind of just like cut back on like looking at a 12-month goal and just like sectioning it into little portions. And then yeah, like I'll kind of just, yeah, like I'm a very like hands-on, like pen on paper kind of person. So I'll like do like a manifestation list of like what kind of goals I want and like where I might see myself. Like it's not to say that you shouldn't plan long term, obviously, or like a year from then, but like realistically for you to check off those like little goals and like how you're showing up each day, like the small habits are what makes up the big habits, right? So each day I'm like, okay, I'm getting up earlier and earlier each morning. I'm like hitting Pilates like by this time so I can go into work at this time. And I lost my train of thought.
I think what you're saying there is really valuable. Like,
yeah.
It's the small things you do in a really short term that actually dictate your long-term success.
Yeah.
And I think people do get really lost in this. I always give this example in the fitness space, and it gets given a lot. Like people say, I want to lose 10 kilos, right? And that's like a long-term goal. But to lose that, you have to set like, what are you going to do this week to help you do that?
Exactly.
And that just might mean, well, I'm going to go. Let's say you don't walk at all, you're going to start going for a 10-minute walk 3 times a week. And you're going to maybe you won't even count your calories, but maybe you just eat less takeout. Maybe you won't eat takeout on Friday nights.
Yeah, exactly.
And you do that for a long time and some change will happen. And eventually you realize, oh, I lost more than 10 kilos. But if you make it like, okay, how do I get to 10 kilos? I'm going to count these calories. I'm going to train 3-5 times a week. I'm going to get this many steps. You can do that, but realistically, like, those are probably lots of changes that you're not used to making, as opposed to if you just make small improvements that you maintain over a long time, you know, that they compound and they equal the result.
Yeah, and I think like the thing to remember is that like you might get a once-off huge success out of nowhere that is just like crazy, and you haven't made those small changes, but all of a sudden you get those results. But like the reality is that it is those small changes that make the big changes. I had an inquiry for an elopement in Italy last week, and for me, I'm like, oh, that just came out of nowhere. That's crazy. I'm so happy about this, blah blah. But like, I've looked back at my marketing, and about a year ago, I actually marketed towards overseas and interstate weddings, saying that I wouldn't charge for the flights. And it's just showing up and talking, I guess, more about your goals with like even your friends and family being like, hey, I'm doing this thing, because then that keeps you accountable, I think. And then when it happens, it's like, yeah, you might be a little bit like, oh wow, that's crazy, but then in the big picture it's like, no, I've actually worked really hard for this. Like, this is the result I've been striving for, you know. So yeah, I hope they book in. If they do, I'm gonna be stoked, but also like a little bit scared because it's in July. So I'm gonna have to make some big changes quickly.
That's really cool.
Second word.
Have you had many weddings overseas, or would it be the first one?
No, I've got so each year I kind of aim to go shoot in Chicago or Illinois, because that's where I'm from. So during our off season here, like it's obviously like a little bit less busy, and it's like the weather's pretty inconsistent and stuff. So I'll kind of block off about a month a year, and then just shoot over there. So I've got some family over there and friends from high school and stuff. So I'll market all my like my content for the dates that I'll be there and just see what comes up. Like last year I had a shoot in Colorado, and then in Illinois I had like 2 full days of mini sessions, which was great. The year before that I had an Illinois wedding. I actually did a workshop there as well, so that was really cool. That was my first workshop I had actually attended, which was like a content day. And a Colorado photographer was hosting it, and I just happened to follow a photographer from Illinois that was going to it, and it just aligned with my travel plan. So I ended up doing that, and I learned so much from that session. And then it actually influenced me to hosting my own workshop once I came back. So I stepped into like kind of a mentorship role here, and I did like a theory kind of based half of my workshop, which I just kind of talked about the steps of becoming a full-time photographer and kind of what we've kind of touched on today. And then the second half was more content shooting, so being right there alongside other creators that might have questions about like camera settings or poses or whatever. So I supplied all the models for that. And then so that was last year, and then this year I did another content day, which was cool.
Nice, that's awesome. Are you enjoying moving into that mentorship role?
Yeah, I think long term I'm kind of planting the seed now, because I don't know how long I'll be able to shoot weddings. It's pretty hard on your body, and I'm not saying I'm giving up now, like, but I'm thinking like when I'm like in my 50s or 60s or whatever, like it's a lot of movement. Like sometimes I'll do like 20,000 steps a day, and you know, like it's pretty hard on your body. Like everyone always talks about the wedding hangover, like the next day you're just sore and tired, and like it literally feels like you've just partied all night. So I just think like long term I probably will step more into like that mentorship role. I wonder if you can hear that.
He can't. You know, he will do that snoring because he sleeps in bed with us.
Yeah.
Because we're stupid dog owners.
Is your baby?
He sleeps in bed with us. He'll start sleeping by your feet, and then he'll wiggle himself up towards my ear.
Oh my god, so does it wake you up?
He snores in my ear. No, I've learned to fall asleep with it.
Should I put my mic closer to him?
I bet you now he won't. Now he's not doing it. To anyone who's not watching this, we are putting the mic next to Mr. Winston's ear. If you haven't worked out, Mr. Winston is not a small man. He's a little French bulldog. He's a little French bulldog who snores his life away.
He's so snoring.
And he's very gassy, which thankfully it has not happened right now.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And that's not me using that as a decoy in case you smell something funny.
Yeah. Just like his dad.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, I definitely think it's something I could explore. Like, I'm happy with the pace it's going, where I'm doing like 1 or 2 a year. But yeah, it's really hard with how busy I am with photography, like with weddings and families and stuff. Like, it takes a lot of energy to plan these content days, but also like, I definitely could see myself like doing one-on-one mentorships and stuff and just kind of passing on my knowledge, because it's so much easier to learn from other people's mistakes. I wonder if it's just as beneficial though, like to get a mentor as it is to learning these mistakes yourself though.
Well, I think that's just different styles of people. I think there are people who are really smart, who can learn from other people's mistakes through mentorship.
And then there's us.
And then there's us who have to make the mistakes.
Yeah.
I have started doing mentoring for personal trainers and gym owners in the past maybe 8 months.
Yeah, cool.
And like, I love that, and that's actually become like the biggest part of like the businesses that I run.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, I love being in that role, but I love being in that role because like I've made hundreds of mistakes.
So many mistakes.
And it's becomes, and I love meeting someone and being like, look, you don't, like, there is an easier way. You don't have to do that. Like, please trust that, like, when I say this works, like, it comes from a place of like, I've done it, I've had other people do it, like, and it can also work for you. Like, you don't have to go through that struggle period of failing and maybe quitting, because that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, not everybody comes in with the same level of, I don't want to call it tenacity, but maybe stubbornness to do the thing till it one day works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
takes a lot of,
you're right.
I was just going to say, I think it takes a lot of ownership as well, like knowing that these mistakes happen because of you. You know, they're not happening to you. They're a result of actions that you've made and like decisions you made, you know.
I like to give this example. So I've been posting a lot of content online probably for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? And I decided to start posting content to get myself out there and build my online business. It did work for that. But I had other goals with the content. It wasn't just to build the online business. It was to, I guess, create a brand for myself. Now, a year and a half into that, I realized that I'd been posting 3 videos every day for a year and a half. Now, I'm really stubborn and self-disciplined, so I mean it when I say like it's a lot of videos, like 700 and something. And I was like, look, this is not working as good as it should have by now.
Yeah, right.
And I realized, okay, kind of like the Taylor Swift song, like me, I'm the problem. It's me. It's something that I'm doing, it's just not resonating well with people.
Yeah.
So I decided to get like it sounds funny when I say that, like an Instagram coach to help me, like, look, why do I suck? Like, what am I doing that's not doing well with people? Yeah. And, you know, he gave me like some really valuable advice. And since then, like, I changed the content strategy. And to date, I think I've had 9 videos go viral, meaning like over 500,000 views. Quite several one get 1 million views. Yeah. For example, in the past, they were all struggling to get 300 to 500 views. Yeah. But if I hadn't had that moment of like, I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. Like, I thought I did, and I tried something and it didn't work. And I noticed that, because I didn't want to be the person who does this for 10 years. Because sometimes we think that part of the equation is just working hard. But part of it isn't that. Like, lots of people work hard, right? Like, I think we live in a world where we praise hustle.
Oh, for sure.
But, you know, the person who goes and, you know, the garbage man who gets up really early and picks up, like, they're still working hard. Yeah. Like, but hard work isn't the only part to the equation to, like, being successful. It's also, like, recognizing, like, well, what could I do to leverage myself further in this situation? Yeah. And whatever the situation is. And like you just said, I think part of it is realizing, well, what am I doing that's not as best as it could be, or what am I doing that's wrong? Yeah. And I think the more you keep doing that, like, the quicker you're going to advance.
That question, for sure. Yeah, and just, you're right. Like, your results are a reflection of everything you're doing. So it's like, is that a good option, or could there be a better option out there? And again, like taking your ego out of it and just being like, am I not relating to people enough? Like, because that's the thing, like, and that's the thing with Instagram, like it's constantly changing. And like different platforms and stuff, like the way that you can relate to people on Instagram is completely different to the way that you can relate to people on TikTok. You know, like TikTok, people want that. I feel like in the TikTok world, it's like so much more raw, and people want that like genuine feel of like, oh, like I've had no like.
They want to be your friend. Like they want to they literally want to be inside your life. Like who are you?
Yeah.
Like what's the nitty gritty of you?
Yeah.
Whereas like Instagram is the attention span is a lot shorter, and it needs to be very contextual to like. I'm going to say the word cool, but like, you know, what's...
aesthetic.
Yeah, like what's happening right now in culture.
Yeah.
You know, like right now, for any content creators, like I hate continually making these, but those point of view videos right now are doing really well. And they're working across all things. But they're going to stop working. And there's going to be like another
and
thing.
And then you have to adapt to whatever the next thing is.
Culture will find, oh, this is how we now relate to like... Because for ages it was memes, right? Like that's how we made fun of things.
Oh, for sure.
Like, and it's going to keep changing. Like, and if you don't make those little pattern recognitions of like how is culture changing and how can I relate to it, you get left behind in a lot of these social media platforms.
Yeah, it is pretty confronting, for sure. But yeah, like I guess the way that things have always worked and the way that you've always had success isn't the way people will always have success. Like you're gonna have to adapt to different societal changes as well, and like what's normal, like what was normal in like the 90s on like imagine if people had like YouTube like in the early 90s, like how many people would have been cancelled.
Oh, 100%.
Like by now, like it wouldn't exist. You know,
100%.
Whereas now it's just like a lot more gentle, and I guess a lot more relative to what's going on right now.
It is the 45-minute podcast for a reason. That's all the time we have. We've done it. Well done. If people want to follow you and they want to know more about being a photographer and follow your photography, where can they do so?
Yeah, sweet. So my Instagram is Kenzi St George Photography, and everything is linked from there, so you can find my website and everything. So
awesome.
Just make it easy.
Thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully I will have you on again.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you, Rob. Bye.